The gentleman yields back. Ms. Bonamici, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the witnesses. Once again, I reiterate that we must stand together against anti-Semitism and do more to combat the harassment of Jewish students. There has been an undeniable rise in hate speech, including anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, on college campuses across the country. And although I realize that institutions must be held accountable, continuing to schedule repetitive politicized hearings to attack college presidents will not solve the scourge of anti-Semitism. We need to work with experts on anti-Semitism, legal scholars with expertise in the area, people knowledgeable in the field who could help us determine what the government response can and should be to the increase of anti-Semitism and racial hostility on campuses. Mr. Lawrence, thank you for so clearly articulating the value of higher education and why it's important to promote discussion in ways that respect free speech while keeping students safe. And as I've mentioned in this committee before, the American Jewish Committee, Jewish Federations, the Anti-Defamation League, and others have expertise we can draw on. And because this is also a Title VI issue, let's focus, as Ranking Member Scott and Representative Courtney said, on equipping the Office of Civil Rights with the resources that it needs, rather than cutting their budget, as my colleagues across the aisle have proposed. And I also want to note, as I did recently in the subcommittee, that my colleagues across the aisle expressed concern about anti-Semitism on college campuses, but we do not see the same concern when anti-Semitic comments and tropes come from their side of the aisle. For example, just a few days ago, the Truth Social account of Donald Trump included an outrageous video with Nazi-like language about a unified Reich. Did any of my colleagues on this committee call that out and ask the candidate that most of them have endorsed for its removal? It baffles me that some people are opposed to anti-Semitism when it's politically convenient instead of whenever it rears its ugly head. I'm also concerned about any suggestion that the first step to address protests should be to call police. It doesn't work in some cases, and as both Presidents Schill and Holloway and Chancellor Block noted, oftentimes many of the people protesting are not students, further complicating the issue. Northwestern and Rutgers both reached agreements with student protesters to address campus safety concerns while recognizing free speech rights. These agreements involved a shared learning environment that fostered the exchange of ideas between schools and school administration, actions that are directly in line with the university's academic message and mission. So President Schill, in your testimony, you discussed how you identified 3 options to address the encampment on Northwestern's campus. You talked a little bit about why you made the decision you did, and that talking with the students was the best option. But will you explain how the final agreement you reached with student protesters de-escalated activities on campus and how that worked? And did the agreement address rights or protections for Jewish or Israeli students?
Thank you, Congresswoman Bonamici. So we looked at this. What we were experiencing with the encampment was a huge increase in anti-Semitic activity. We had things that we hadn't seen before, like complaints of anti-Semitism jumped up. There was a sign of a Mogen David with a slash on it put on Deering Gate. There was a picture of me with horns and blood, as all of you know. That's an anti-Semitic trope. So we made a decision, and it was making our Jewish students feel unsafe. So we made a decision, those tents had to come down. Those tents had to come down. We thought about bringing in the police as an option. That option turned out to be not possible to ensure safety. And my number one objective and mandate, when parents give me their children or lend me their children, I need to keep them safe. And I'm going to do everything I can to keep them safe. And bringing in police, because of the size of our police force and the resources, would have endangered our police, they would have endangered our students, and they would have endangered our student affairs staff. So then we made the decision to talk to our students, to model the behavior that we want to be engaged in, that dialogue rather than force. And we had a de-escalation. The tents came down right after the agreement was struck. The entire protest is now in conformity with university rules. We also there was nothing in that agreement that, just to be responsive to your full question, that specifically addressed the interests of Jewish students other than getting rid of that encampment, which was making our Jewish students feel unsafe. They couldn't walk through Deering Meadow. They couldn't pass Deering Meadow. They were worried about the outsiders on our campus. And we were worried about the outsiders and the threat that they entailed for our students.
I see my time has expired. I yield back.
Thank you.